Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry if my voice is a little bit off. I am a little bit sick today, but I did want to get this video out before the end of the night because I basically wrote a thread on Twitter about self-sabotaging behavior, and it got a lot of retweets, likes, and all that other good stuff. So usually when that happens, that means that that's my cue to go ahead and make a video about it. So I'm making a video about self-sabotaging, basically explaining why we self-sabotage and then steps to heal it. Now, this is going to be kind of short and sweet because I just feel like with our healing journeys, there's already so many steps that I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So like I said, this is going to be like a short and sweet video, short and sweet solution. So I guess first I'll read off the self-sabotaging behaviors that I listed on Twitter. So pretty much the ones that I noticed most prevalently in my life and the ones that I have read about are going to bed late, knowing that you have to be up early in the morning, sleeping in until the last minute so you have to rush to get ready, checking your ex's social media after a painful breakup, and then listening to sad music after a painful breakup. So that last one, the listening to painful music, a lot of people were like, well, that's not necessarily true because sometimes that helps you to release the sad feelings. And that's true, people. I agree with that. But if you are 5 months post breakup and you are still listening to Evanescence, My Immortal, you know, you're crossing the line. So that's what I meant by sad music after a painful breakup. And then the other ones I listed are procrastinating on important life-altering tasks, such as studying for college exams and things like that. Feeling too peaceful, so you seek out arguments in your relationships or your friendships or just with anyone in general. Like you might go into the mall and argue with the cashier. Like you're just looking for trouble anywhere you go. Starting a goal and backing down from completing it as soon as you start to see success. Constantly seeking out difficult partners who are emotionally unavailable or ones that are already in a relationship. And then contacting people, asking them for second chances when you know for a fact they're going to reject you, and then you obsess over the rejection. So it's like the ex that you already know doesn't want you anymore, but you reach out to them like, hey, can we make it work again? But you know they're going to reject you. You know they are. And then they end up rejecting you, and then you end up spiraling and obsessing over the rejection for the next 2 to 8 months. So, and yes, that has happened to me. So I'm not exaggerating. So, okay, wait, there's more. There's 3 more that I listed. Spending money that you don't have, especially right before bills are due. Showing people the ugly side of you after they've sung your praises, after you've gotten like a bunch of compliments and people are just really bigging you up and just telling you how great you are. You'll just feel the need to show them, hey, I'm not that great. I'm a piece of shit. Let me show you this other side of me that you don't see. So that's a form of self-sabotage. And then waiting until the last minute to eat so you can end up grabbing junk food instead of a healthy meal. And there are hundreds of more ways, I'm sure, that you can self-sabotage, but I just wanted to keep that list short and sweet. So I guess we'll get into why we self-sabotage in the first place. So first of all, the definition of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is the problems you create for yourself that interferes with your highest good. So basically the ways that you block your own blessings. And there are a number of different reasons why we self-sabotage, but I guess I just narrowed down the top 5 reasons that I could think of. Okay, so the first reason we self-sabotage is imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is basically when we feel inadequate despite the fact that there is proof of the exact opposite. So we can be extremely successful in our careers. We could be very highly regarded by people. People could be singing our praises about how great we are. But for some reason, deep down inside, we feel like a fraud. It's like a lot of us have this fear of our own capabilities, of our own highest potential. We always feel like, it's almost like you feel like I just got lucky. Like you could be brilliant because you are so afraid of that potential, or because you don't see yourself in as high regard as other people do. You just feel like you are faking it and that you're just getting lucky. And so you'll sabotage yourself by actually making sure that you don't go any further up in your career. This usually applies to your career. So you'll sabotage yourself by making sure you don't climb the ladder in your career, because then you feel like if you don't climb the ladder, then you won't get any more exposure, and then people won't figure out that you're a fraud. I go through this all the time, if we're being real. you get intimidated by seeing your own potential. You get intimidated by it. So it's like, you don't want more subscribers, because then that means more exposure. And then that means there's more people to call you out on your bullshit and tell you that, hey, you're not that great. You're not that smart. You know, you're not a psychic. Like, so it's like it's like evidence that proves otherwise, but you still, for some reason, are doubting your capabilities, and you just feel like you can't, you just feel like you don't live up, like you don't live up to the hype. So that is one reason why we self-sabotage. And then another reason that we self-sabotage is the fear of failure. And with this one, I'm throwing in perfectionism too. Like, if you're a perfectionist, then you automatically have this fear of failure. So with this fear of failure, we'll tend to self-sabotage because we don't want to put in 100% just in case things don't go right and we end up failing. We're all afraid of that fear. I mean, we're all afraid of that feeling of failure. That feeling of failure is horrific. It makes you feel inadequate. It makes you feel shameful. It makes you feel embarrassed, especially if you have a failure in public, like that other people can see. It's just, it's not good. It doesn't feel good for your soul. Okay. So a lot of us will just avoid, we'll avoid tasks that we know that we can potentially fail at, because we are trying to stop that feeling from happening. But also, a lot of people, what they'll do is they will take on the task that they're afraid of failing on, but they'll only give like 10%. Because if they fail, they could just say, okay, well, I didn't even put my all into that, so who cares? Like, I didn't fail. The fact that I didn't try failed. So then that kind of like cushions you for the blow. Like, you can just say, I didn't put my all into it. So that means that it's not me that's terrible at what I do. It's the fact that I just didn't put the work in, so I'm fine. So that's another form of self-sabotage. And then another reason we self-sabotage is the feeling of unworthiness, and like we are undeserving. And that can be the feeling of undeserving in a couple different areas of your life. It can be that you feel like you're undeserving of love, that you're undeserving of success, that you're undeserving of peace, that you're undeserving of happiness. And usually this is a subconscious programming, especially for those who were raised in an abusive household, a toxic household. It's easy to have that embedded into your brain, and I'll explain more about that later. But it's easy to have that embedded into your brain and to grow up just feeling like you are not deserving. So you will try to actively destroy everything that comes into your life that you feel any type of contentment or joy from. You know, like if you feel unworthy of love and you meet someone who is amazing and they make you feel some type of way, like they make you feel that feeling of love, because you think you're undeserving and unworthy of it, you will rip it to shreds pretty much, and you will push them away, and you will regret it later, and then try to get them back later after you have already pushed them away. And that is also a form of self-sabotage, is to then go and chase after the person that has cut ties with you. So yeah, this can manifest in different forms. So like I said, this is a subconscious programming brought on by what you were taught growing up about yourself, and also society as well. So it's not just your family. Society programs us to feel like we're inadequate, because that's how they sell things to us. Like, how are they going to sell certain types of surgery, certain types of makeup, certain type of, like, how are they going to sell these things to you if you feel 100% good about yourself? It's not possible. So they are going to put these programmings in subliminal ads and things like that to make you feel ugly and to make you feel like you're not good enough. And yeah, that's programmed. All of that is being programmed into your subconscious mind. Then you grow up feeling undeserving, and then you self-sabotage. So then another reason we self-sabotage is emotional masochism. Now, this is a more extreme version of self-sabotaging, like very extreme, because people who have emotional masochism, they are actually addicted to emotional pain. This stems from abuse, usually child abuse. And I'm going to do a whole separate video on this. I feel like I can do a separate video on all of these, actually. This stems from being in pain for so long that that's your default setting, that you don't feel right or comfortable unless you are in pain. So you will constantly seek out situations that will emotionally damage you and emotionally scar you, and that's how you feel most comfortable. This is like the extreme, like dark side of self-sabotage. So like I said, that's for a whole nother video. And then the last one is that we prefer pleasure over discomfort. This one's kind of like a lighthearted one, right? Because it's just in human nature to want to be comfortable. Like, our brains just want us to be comfortable. That's why we have to purposely push ourselves out of our comfort zone, because our brain just naturally wants us to be feeling good and to be feeling happy. And that's just not realistic sometimes, because sometimes in order to reach a long-term goal of happiness, you have to be a little uncomfortable in the process. But a lot of us would rather just be would rather just have that pleasure in the moment and sacrifice the happiness in the long term. So that's another reason why we self-sabotage. Okay, so now let's move on to the steps to heal self-sabotaging behavior. So the first step is to monitor your behavior. So what you want to do is write down a to-do list, right, of your top priorities, things that you know you have to get done in a day, things that you just know that if you don't get them done, it's just going to make your life more difficult than it needs to be. For example, if you need to study, if you need to write a term paper, if you need to be in bed at a certain time, like you just know you need to do these things. So write them down on a to-do list, physically on paper or in your phone. And then you want to try your best throughout the day to follow this list. And as you're following this list, observe your thoughts. So whatever distractions pop into your head as you're going through this list, those are your self-sabotaging habits, and you need to write those down so that you can become consciously aware of them, because these are the habits that now you are going to need to fight. So for example, if you write down on your to-do list, I need to write my term paper, and then it comes the time during the day to actually sit down and write that term paper, your mind suddenly shifts to, well, I wonder what's going on Facebook. I wonder what's going on Twitter. So right there, you're able to identify that social media is one of your self-sabotaging habits. Once you become aware of this habit, that's when you can make the conscious decision to break the habit. And there are 2 ways to break these habits. So I broke it down into 2 different steps: how to break the habit in physical steps and how to break the habit in mental steps. Okay, so step 2 would be to how to break the self-sabotaging habit physically. So what you want to do is put up blockages and barricades between you and the self-sabotaging habit. Because when it comes to breaking a bad habit, a lot of people think that they can just use their willpower. Like, okay, well, if I say I'm not going to do it, then I'm not going to do it. No, that's almost impossible, literally, because you only have but so much willpower to give, especially when your brain is distracted by so many other things throughout the day. It's like your brain is kind of on autopilot. So your willpower is just not enough. And you automatically start slipping into these self-sabotaging habits. So what you want to do is create some type of barricade so that it's impossible for you to get to the habit. So for example, like we said before about studying for an exam or writing a term paper, and you notice that social media like pops into your head when you're about to sit down and complete the task. What you'll do is install a phone blocker app on your phone. It's like a timer that you put on your phone. And this is just an example of a barricade. You can do whatever works for you. But it's like you install this app that's like a phone blocker timer, so that when you say you're going to study between the hours of 3 and 5 p.m., then you block your phone between the hours of 3 to 5 p.m. So there's no way you can get on Twitter. Just saying, okay, I'm just not going to do it. That doesn't work. You have to put a barricade in front of it. Or you can turn off your phone and put it in another room. Or if you can't do that, then you can just turn off your notifications and delete your Twitter app. I mean, just any type of blockage that makes it harder for you to get to that self-sabotaging behavior. And after you put up a block to the habit, to the bad habit, now what you want to do is to make the actual goal that you're trying to achieve much easier to access. So we're using the example of the term paper again, because that's just the easiest. So let's say in the morning time or the next day, you know that you have to write this term paper, right? So what you want to do is open up your laptop, put it on Microsoft Word, like put the blank document up, write your name and date on the paper, write your header, whatever you're using, MLA, APA, write your header on there so that then in the morning you have better access to it, because all you have to do is literally sit at your laptop and just start typing. See what I'm saying? It's much easier than if your laptop was away and shut down in your closet and you got to wake up and go climb on top of your closet, get the laptop, plug it in, make sure it's charged, turn it on, go to Microsoft Word. Like, those steps seem really simple, but they're not. When you're trying to break a bad habit, you want to really just make your life as easy as possible when it comes to the things that you need to be focused on. So another example of this would be, I guess I'll take the example from the thread that I made on Twitter about going to bed late, knowing that you have to be up early, because that's the one that got the strongest response. So when it comes to that, what you want to do is actually set an alarm for bedtime. Like some people I guess most people, or a lot of people set alarms for the morning time. But if you're someone who self-sabotages by staying up late past your bedtime, knowing that you have to get up early, then it would really help you to set an alarm for your actual bedtime, so that when that alarm goes off, now you're consciously aware that you're in the process of self-sabotaging if you decide to cut that alarm off and continue on doing what you're doing. And you're less likely to do that because then you become aware of the fact that, okay, I'm about to mess myself up here. I'm about to be extremely tired in the morning. If not for that alarm, you might just completely bypass that thought process. See what I'm saying? So it's like putting up barricades so that you can't engage in the habit, and then also making your goals more accessible to you and making it more simple. Okay, so next is how to break these self-sabotaging habits mentally. So pretty much how you break these habits mentally is by reprogramming your subconscious mind, because a lot of these habits are just self-limiting beliefs that you have implanted in your subconscious mind, and now you are acting out. So if you have a subconscious belief, like I mentioned before, that you are unworthy of love, you will find a way to destroy your relationship. You will look for a way to destroy your relationship. And a lot of people just don't understand how much the subconscious mind influences our actions. I think the number is 85%? No, I think it's 95%. I think 95% of our actions are controlled by our subconscious, and only 5% of our actions are controlled by our conscious minds. So we think we're so much in control. We think that, we have it all together. No, whatever's in your subconscious mind, that's what's driving your behavior. So pretty much between the ages of 0 and 7 years old, we are in somewhat of like a trance-like state. You know how when someone's being hypnotized, you see it on TV shows, movies, when someone's being hypnotized and the hypnotist is waving the clock in the person's face, and the person is just like in this trance, and then the hypnotist can basically turn that person into anyone they want them to be. That is exactly what we are like between the ages of 0 and 7. So our parents can train us to be whatever they want us to be. And I kid you not, I'm going to do a separate video on this, because I really don't think people understand. I actually was reading about a man. He's extremely dedicated to science, first of all. I applaud him for this. But he had a theory about the subconscious mind and how you can program your child to be whoever you want to be. So he purposely he met this woman. I think this woman was his friend, actually. And he was just like, hey, do you want to have kids and try to raise them to be world champion chess players? Just so we can prove that we can turn kids into whatever we want. And the lady's like, sure, let's do it. So they had 3 kids. I kid you not, that's how it went. Because in the article, I don't think he didn't mention anything about being in love with this lady. Anyway, that's dedication. So he pretty much, they gave birth to 3 children. And what they did was, from an early age, they started training them in chess. And pretty much by the time they were in their 20s, they were world-class chess players. And what they did with the youngest one purposely was that they trained her in a way that was more passive than the other children. So she inevitably grew up to be a chess player that wasn't as good as her older sisters. And basically, but that study was more so about how the link between talent versus being born talented. Anyway, it still has to do with the subconscious. Like I said, you can program a child to be anything you want them to be. So if you grew up in a dysfunctional household, more than likely your subconscious mind tells you that you are unworthy of love, because dysfunction usually means that you did not get your emotional needs met. So when you don't get your emotional needs met as a child, you can't say to yourself, okay, I know my mother and father are not loving me the right way, but I know for a fact that I am worthy of love. It's just them. They have issues. No, when you're a child, you can't think like that. Obviously, you can't process these things. Some grown adults can't even process these things. So as a child, pretty much what you will do is internalize it. And your subconscious mind will just explain it as, okay, my parents are perfect, because that's what a child wants to believe, because we depend on our parents for survival. So we want to believe as children that our parents are perfect, because God, that would be scary if we were able to understand that they are flawed, like our only source of life is flawed. Yeah, that would be horrific for a young child. So we want to believe that our parents are perfect. And so we will what will go into our subconscious mind will be, our parents are perfect, so there must be something wrong with me. My needs aren't getting met because of me. I'm bad. I'm defective. I'm unworthy. And that subconscious programming is drilled into your head while you are in a trance-like state, while you are in a hypnotized-like state. And so therefore, between the ages of 0 and 7, you are being programmed for the rest of your life. And so if you self-sabotage because you feel like you're unworthy or undeserving of success, and you like procrastinate on your goals and stuff like that, it's because of this. It's because of this subconscious programming. And again, it's not just your parents, it's also society, because plenty of subliminal messages in society that tell you the same exact thing. So what you want to do to fix this is reprogram your subconscious mind. This is, I'm not going to say it's difficult. It's really not, but I have to do a whole another video on this because this video will go on and on for hours. But pretty much what you want to do is reprogram your subconscious mind through sleep hypnosis. Now, I say through sleep hypnosis because, think about it. When you were a kid, you were in a hypnotized-like state, in a trance-like state. When you are asleep, you are in that same exact state of mind that you were in when you were between the ages of 0 and 7 and you were being programmed. So sleeping is the perfect opportunity to plant these messages into your mind. So sleep hypnosis is perfect to counteract those thoughts of feeling unworthy, of feeling unloved, of feeling like you just don't deserve. And personally, you have to be careful with this because sleep hypnosis is basically like subliminal messages put inside of like another background noise. Like it could be like like the sounds of nature, like relaxing sounds. It's pretty much like positive affirmations that are recorded on top of another background sound. But then the frequency pitch is changed on the affirmations. So let's say I create a sleep hypnosis audio where it's like the sounds of nature, and then on top of that, like I plug my microphone into my phone, and on top of that I record, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am special. And then I go into an editing program and I'll change the frequency on those I am messages, and I will change the frequency so that it can't be heard by the human ear consciously, but your subconscious will be able to pick it up. So that's why I'm saying you have to be careful, because when you go on YouTube and you do these sleep hypnosis videos, you don't know what they are actually saying. They could be telling you some real demonic shit, you know? So just be careful. But I am actually in the process of doing a whole sleep hypnosis series. I'm just going to make a whole bunch of sleep hypnosis videos that you can download the audio to, and it's going to be free. It's not going to charge for it or nothing, because it's not hard to make. And then I'll also do a video on how to make it yourself, because from what I've read, it's actually better if you do this with your own voice. Like your subconscious picks up your own voice better and plants those messages into your mind. So for those of you who don't want to do sleep hypnosis right away, you can also do written affirmations. So you can write down, I am worthy of love, I am deserving, I am beautiful, and all these things. You can write all those things down on sticky notes and just post them all over your house, on your refrigerator, on your bathroom mirror, anywhere where you can see them, and those messages will just get planted into your subconscious mind. And also, when you're in the process of doing this, make sure that you are removing any further negativity that will plant more negative messages inside of your subconscious. Because then you're just, what's the point? You're just like counteracting the positive that you're trying to put in there with more negative. Pretty much the gist of it is that you are on autopilot throughout the day. Whenever you are not consciously aware and whenever you're not living in the moment, your mind switches to autopilot, and then your subconscious takes over and you start playing out these self-sabotaging behaviors. So something else you want to be very mindful of, like I said, is being in the moment, being conscious and being aware, and catching yourself before you start doing these self-sabotaging behaviors, and making the decision to redirect yourself and to think about what you're about to miss out on or what you're about to lose by taking part in this self-sabotaging behavior. So with the combination of the physical ways to break the habits and then the mental ways to break the habits, it's like you'll turn into a whole new person, literally. All you have to do is be consistent. And all you have to do is make sure you are disciplined with this, and don't just do it for a short period of time. Like, oh, well, I don't see any results. No, you have to keep on doing it over and over and over. Reprogramming your mind is all about repetition. So the same way you form these self-sabotaging beliefs and habits through repetition, that's the same way you need to break them. Okay, so that is it. Like I said before, a lot of these I'm going to do separate videos on, because there's no way I could explain them in detail in this video, because it would be way too long. And again, look out for my video on the subconscious mind, because I'll be linking all of my sleep hypnosis audios that you can download for free. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you to everyone who has been ordering tarot readings. I truly, truly appreciate you. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.